Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review a gaming book, If Thoughts Could Kill, from Malhavoc Press, written by Bruce Cordell. Now this is an adventure and a toolkit. Both the adventure and toolkit are based on the 3.5 expanded psionics handbook, so that's a psionic adventure and a psionic toolkit. Now, I'm not sure if I've ever actually read an adventure that was focused on psionics exclusively. Well, not exclusively, but it's the main theme of the adventure are psionic things. In fact, I'm not sure if I ever encountered psionics as a specific theme ever in an adventure. I know that I encountered psionic-like powers in some of the first edition modules I've read, especially things in magazines and things like that. In fact, the old Arduin stuff, I believe, had some as well. But this one is brought up to the modern 3.5 era, and I happen to be a major fan of the expanded psionics handbook. I think it's simply one of the best spell point systems ever created, and I'm a big fan of the 3.5 rules. It's balanced, it scales beautifully. It's versatile. It meshes with the arcane and divine systems already in play in the game. So I really think it's a win-win for everybody. Now, this particular adventure, I'll use the table of contents as some show notes here, is designed for four characters of 10th level, and the game is going to bring you up to 11th, possibly even, depending where you are, hit 12th by the time the adventure is over. And this adventure is really going to be of benefit if the group has a psionic character, at least one. It doesn't have to be exclusively psionic. You could play this adventure with a psionic NPC. That would be a nice fit, but you're going to have a psionic character in the party somehow or some way for this adventure to move forward. If your party has absolutely no interest in psionics whatsoever, if the players are like, oh, we hate psionics, I would not recommend this adventure. However, if they are open to the concept, or if there is already one person in the group who is a psionic character, this is a definitely solid adventure. It would probably be best if the psionic character were a scion of some ability. A psychic warrior might work. A wilder would fit in case there was no scion. I don't think a soul knight is really going to fit the bill. But that's just me. I guess you could really pull it off if you wanted to. You might take a little fudging here and there and possibly, refiguring a few things. But your best bet would be one of the 6 varieties of scion. Now, if your characters are not movers and shakers, and at 10th level, they are getting to the mover and shaker stage, this adventure is going to put them into the mover and shaker category. So that, I think, is kind of interesting. Now, admittedly, the psionic world is going to be considerably smaller than the overall fantasy setting that you're in, but that still is going to put you into the spotlight by the end of this adventure. So we have a major event that pulls the characters into the adventure, which is kind of cool. We have some encounters, and the encounters are nicely balanced. There are divine and arcane and martial NPCs, both as adversaries and as just interactions. So the psionic characters are not going to be the only people that will benefit from treasure. There's going to be treasure available, the full gamut for every class. Unfortunately, they have a group in here. Now, I don't know when this was originally written. I don't know what the date on it is. But they're called the Rave, R-A-V-E, and the members of this group are called, yes, Ravers. That's an unfortunate choice of words, because Rave is a particular type of party, Raver is a particular type of party goer in our world, and it has absolutely nothing to do with psionics or role-playing. I think it kind of makes the whole thing a little on the silly side. I would probably call it the Reeve, and call the group, the members, Reavers, which is a connotation towards, Firefly, which is cool, because they are kind of a danger to the group. Yeah, the whole concept of Rave and Ravers, it was kind of silly. We have, at one point in the adventure, we have what I consider a classic dungeon crawl. Dungeon crawls that very much, for me, hit every single point of what a dungeon crawl is. Alright, you're going to this, you're exploring this place, and it makes me think of dungeons that I myself have designed and ones I have encountered, particularly in the early days of modules. It really made me smile, but it was fresh enough and interesting enough, and the setting adventure is cool enough that it didn't get stale. It didn't feel like they were shoehorning this old thing in to the adventure. It was just cool. I really enjoyed it. Not a lot of replay value with the dungeon, but still cool. Now there is an NPC organization in here called the Colorless Lodge. Now the Colorless Lodge is a psionic organization, and this is the only part of this adventure which I really think has got any playability. They're interesting, they're cool, they're a nice organization of NPC psionic characters, and I think that they could really become important to a psionic group or a person from a group further on. You could make this a recurring group of NPCs very easily. I think that it's a great idea, and that the name Colorless Lodge has a nice little Lovecraftian twist to it, which I thought was kind of cool. Definitely something that I think that you would want to use again. In the toolkit aspect, we have things, for example, like there are some new monsters in here. There's a new NPC race, psionic race. There is a new template. I'm not going to spoil it because that would give away some stuff, but it's a cool template. There are some new feats. For example, continual power, like a metasonic feat, which allows you to keep a power going longer than it normally goes. Creature capacitor, the ability to actually store power points in your body for later use, which I thought was kind of cool. Then there's one here, sequester power. Essentially what it does is you take a power you have, and you essentially shelve it. And by sequestering it, you can then access the power points that you would have spent on that power for other things. Kind of cool. And it plays into something else later. Then we have some new magic items, or psionic items. We have a list of new powers, including one which I think really opens up some interesting ideas as far as the debate about raising dead, because it's psi-animate dead. It's raising dead through psionic powers. So no divine, no arcane energies are used. The negative plane is not involved. The negative energy is not involved. It is purely animating a corpse with psionic power. I found that fascinating. It really made me smile when I read it, because just recently I've done a video about is raising animating dead inherently evil. Then we have a prestige class for the Colorless Lodge called the Colorless Adept, which uses the sequester feat. Now, the sequester power feat within the prestige class is when you shelve that power, you leave it shelved. That makes that power now part of a pool in the meta-psionic universe that every single member of this prestige class can access. They can tap into that power and use it even if they themselves don't have it. And you, because you have sequestered a power into this overmind, can access any power that is not specific to a psion class, or subclass, but any of the general skills that you don't have. And this even works for psionic warriors. They can only access psionic warrior abilities, but they could access any psionic warrior ability that they don't have. Makes the class considerably more versatile. So again, it's a good prestige class. It would play. Replayability is very high. Then there is some psionic prestige class variants dealing with the metamind and the blade manifester, which they're alright. It's like their versions of the prestige class for a Soul Knife, which was originally in the Psionic Handbook and before it became a full-blown class in the expanded Psionics Handbook. I didn't like the Psionics Handbook for 3.0. I don't like the attack and defense modes that were introduced in first edition D&D and then had just kind of carried over. Their defense and attack modes only possessed by psionic characters. It's a separate, different system. I don't like that. It's not transparent with the arcane and divine system. I don't like that. I think it suffers from the whole concept of like net running in cyberspace or in cyberpunk games. When the character in the group, the player in the group playing a net runner is doing his thing, everybody else is sitting at the table staring at the walls. That's not good. I like this expanded psionics handle on psionics, so it meshes with everything else. It fits right in. It moves and functions seamlessly and smoothly. I like that. Those variants really weren't my thing. But overall, this is an excellent adventure, a useful toolkit. I think that it could be of particular use to anyone who either has psionics in their game, would like to interject in psionics into their game. It's a nice example of how to do a psionic adventure if you've never seen one, and I've never seen one, so I'm glad I read it. But it's a solid product, and I definitely think it would fit into any campaign that has psionics. So it's highly recommended by me.